We did a live drink along for this one, and a lot of people said that this one really delivered. I want to give my thoughts on the big main event. Ilia Topuria getting it done, putting away Charles Oliveira. Did you guys watch this one? It was unbelievable. I mean, let me just show you guys this. So a few days ago, a couple of days ago, before the fight even happened, Ilia Topuria decided that he was going to celebrate the victory over Charles Oliveira before it even happened. Have a look at this. So this is even before, this is yesterday. You just don't see this kind of stuff. And when people saw this happening, they were like, well, is this normal? Like, is this guy celebrating too early? Look at And then he goes on to put on a performance like that, putting Charles Oliveira out, but not just putting Charles Oliveira out, but putting Charles Oliveira out to the degree that we've never even seen him put out. I mean, it's insane. I want to see if I can find the look on Charles Oliveira's face on social media here just quickly for those that missed it, because it was absolutely insane. Let's have a look here. Have a look at this. And this is courtesy of MMA Junkie. Fantastic website. Friend Mike Bond on the website there. I apologize. It's been a long drink along, watch along. But have a look at this. Look at the way that he put out Charles Oliveira. Look at that. Boom. 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 Look at the look on Charles Oliveira's face. I mean, we have not seen Charles Oliveira look like that. We have not seen Charles Oliveira look like that. And he's fought the best of the best of the best. As a matter of fact, I believe I've got his record here. Let's have a look at some of the people that he's fought. Look at this. This is a guy that's fought the who's who in the MMA world. Since 2010, this guy's been fighting the best of the very best, regardless of the division. And, that's the wrong one. So let me get this. So this is a guy that's fought the best of the very best. Just have a look at this record here and tell me what you think. Insane stuff. Like, take this Topuria win aside for a second before we talk about it. Michael Chandler, Arman Tsarukyan, which he lost, but arguably some would think he won. Beneil Dariush, Islam he lost. Justin Gaethje he beat. Dustin Poirier he beat. Tony Ferguson he beat. Kevin Lee he beat. So this is a guy like beat the Jim Millers, the Clay Guidas, and so on and so forth. So we've never seen him lose and look the way that he's looked. Once again, I just want to show you, have a look at the look in his eyes in this MMA Junkie post. Look at that. It's scary stuff. And we got a comment here in the Instagram. I want to see Ilia versus Francis at this point. So I want to get your thoughts, guys, as you have just watched this. What do you think? In terms of your impression of Ilia Topuria before and after this fight, I mean, how far do you think this guy can go? Obviously, he's never going to be fighting Francis Ngannou or Tom Aspinall. But how does he do against Islam Makhachev if he does want to go up to 170 and fight him? How does he do? Do you think that he's got what it takes to do that to Islam Makhachev if he was able to move up to 170? We'll talk about that fight in just a second. But before we do, I want to talk about what's next for him, and that is this Paddy Pimblett fight. Just going back to MMA Junkie right here, a great screenshot. Let's have a look at this. Paddy Pimblett getting into his face, a little push and shove. We love that. Arman Tsarukyan standing near there. And by the way, I thought that when he was saying there was a guy that hurt his back and he couldn't fight, I thought he was talking about Arman Tsarukyan. But then Joe Rogan randomly brings up Paddy Pimblett, which just says to us that when it comes to the UFC, they're like, hey, man, we'll just do Pimblett next. We always had questions about like, hey, is it going to be Paddy Pimblett versus Justin Gaethje? Is it going to be Paddy Pimblett versus Arman Tsarukyan? Is it going to be Paddy Pimblett versus Dan Hooker? Now we find out it's Paddy Pimblett versus Ilia Topuria straight away. It just makes sense for the UFC to be like, hey, why would we miss out on this money fight? Why would we put a Paddy Pimblett up against a Dan Hooker or Arman Tsarukyan or a Justin Gaethje when we know he might lose? Let's get him right in there against Ilia Topuria. But how do you guys think the fight's going to go? I mean, we just saw what Ilia Topuria did against Charles Oliveira. He just took his soul in that octagon, put him out cold. And we know that Paddy Pimblett is a guy that, while he's dangerous and he was able to put on that incredible performance against Michael Chandler, he's a guy that moves in forward with his chin out. He gets hit. He's going to move forward into Ilia Topuria. I mean, guys, is there any other scenario in your minds where you don't see Paddy Pimblett basically getting knocked out, much like Charles Oliveira did? I want to get your comments in the comment section below. How do you think Paddy Pimblett versus Paddy Pimblett versus Ilia Topuria? Sorry, we had the big drink along just before. Ilia Topuria versus Paddy Pimblett. How do you think that goes? Because if I'm breaking it down, as much as I like Paddy Pimblett, man, this is another first round KO for Ilia Topuria. No doubt about it. First round KO. Let me just quickly talk to you guys about what's next, because it's going to be fascinating. Islam is fighting JDM. Paddy is going to be fighting Ilia. We're going to see how quickly everything can turn around, but you'd think the UFC is looking to get Ilia back in there as soon as possible, with him being the biggest name in the division. They've got these TV rights coming up. Potentially Ilia versus Paddy could be one of the things they can sell the negotiations on as they lock them in. So once Ilia gets past Paddy Pimblett, and if Islam Makhachev beats JDM, which is still a big if, because JDM brings all sorts of problems to Islam Makhachev. We still have to see what he looks like at 170. We still have to see how he matches up with JDM. JDM looked incredible against Bilal Muhammad, so he's going to be hard to take down. He's going to be throwing hard shots throughout this one. It's going to be really interesting, a great test for Islam Makhachev. But if he is able to win this belt, how do you guys think this fight would go? I mean, it's hard to imagine a situation. We saw Islam Makhachev versus Dustin Poirier, with this whole thing was back and forth in an absolute war. It's hard to imagine a situation where Ilia Topuria does not land a big shot at Islam Makhachev and potentially knocks him down, right? After what we just saw, the big question is going to be, what does an Ilia Topuria look like at 170? And with Islam Makhachev, how will he use his wrestling and his grappling against a great grappler in Ilia Topuria to neutralize him and potentially get on top of him before Ilia starts unleashing the damage? I want to get your thoughts in the comment section below, but I have to say right now, after watching this fight, after seeing what Ilia is able to do, I have him beating Paddy Pimblett. I have him beating Arman Tsarukyan. I have him beating everybody in the lightweight division. And while Islam Makhachev poses some really interesting questions, and it was undoubtedly the hardest challenge that Ilia Topuria could have, I have to say, after seeing what he did against Charles Oliveira, it's hard for me not to side with the fact that, look, in a fight against Islam Makhachev, he will land, he will hit, and I think that he will likely be able to stop and hurt an Islam Makhachev. I want you guys to let me know in the comment sections below if you think that an Ilia Topuria could actually beat Islam Makhachev at 170. 155? Man, it's going to be hard not to side with Ilia Topuria. I mean, Islam Makhachev, an incredible resume. Again, this is the fight that needs to happen. But at 170, could Ilia Topuria beat Islam Makhachev at 170? 5'7", the size of a featherweight, really? 155, well, 155.5 on the scale. What the hell happened there? Do you guys see this? Leading into the fight here, obviously the weigh-ins.
155 and a half.
155 and a half.
4, 3, 2, 1. Freeze.
What the hell is going on? What is going on? Look at this guy stumbling around.
155.
Look at this guy stumbling around like a fool. Says 155 and a half. Then the guy is like, hey, by the way, he's got to be 155. goes back, redoes his little thing. Topuria doesn't take anything off, doesn't take off his chain, doesn't have to get on or get back off. So the guy is obviously weighing him in the wrong way to begin with, which is obviously an issue anyway. And if he is weighing him correctly, then he doesn't get him to do anything, and he just miraculously weighs 155. I think that's a problem that we all need to look at. I mean, we've seen the tailgate from DC, all respect to him, but this is a new craziness. I know he had the chain on. There's all sorts of things he could have done to get down to 155, but that was just insane. Anyway, long story short, we've got Ilia Topuria, we got Paddy Pimblett. I want you guys to let me know in the comment section below who you think is going to win. I want you to let me know if there was an Islam Makhachev Ilia Topuria fight tomorrow. Who would win that as well? I just saw the Dana White press conference. What do you guys make of this? Have a look at this. So we were talking about Paddy Pimblett versus Ilia Topuria next, but it turns out Dana White wasn't actually in on Paddy Pimblett making it to the ring. Have a look from this question from
Pimblett, brought him into the cage, and they had a face-off. Obviously, they've got a long history together. I know there's a lot of options on the table for Ilia, but when he shows that type of interest in a fight, does that make you want to make it?
Well, I don't know who the hell let him in there. That should have never happened. Let's start there. I was already back in my room, or that would have never happened. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really think about that stuff tonight, other than, obviously the Van fight. But, we'll see. We'll see how this plays out.
So it's fascinating here because we thought that, the UFC was across this. Why would Paddy Pimblett be in the ring there having that moment with Ilia Topuria where when they weren't planning on doing the fight? But it looks like someone actually let Paddy Pimblett into the octagon, and this wasn't actually across Dana White's table, which makes it fascinating, right? Because number one, Ilia Topuria sounded like he was calling out Arman Tsarukyan to Joe Rogan when he was saying about the back injury. Number two, Dana White not happy with the fact that Paddy Pimblett was in that octagon. Number three, Islam Makhachev about to fight JDM for the welterweight title probably in October or November at Madison Square Garden over there in New York. So, is Paddy Pimblett really fighting Ilia Topuria next? I don't think so. It looks like Dana White wants to keep his options open. I think that Islam fight is still on the table potentially next for Ilia Topuria. And can I remind everybody out there that it wasn't long ago when Ilia Topuria and Alex Volkanovski were both in the octagon doing a face-off together. And then who does he fight next? Charles Oliveira. So are there any guarantees about Paddy Pimblett being the next guy for Ilia Topuria? I don't think so. Let's see what happens next. I want to get your thoughts in the comment section below. Who do you think wins between Islam and Ilia Topuria in a potential fight? Who do you want to see next for Ilia Topuria? And also, don't forget tomorrow, massive submission radio morning after. Got Jimmy Smith and Kenny Florian. It's a UFC 317 edition of the show. You guys can watch that live on the channel here. That's at 2 p.m. LA time, 5 p.m. New York time, and also 7 a.m. Melbourne time in Australia here. So I'll catch you guys then. Drop your thoughts in comment sections below, and don't forget to become a Submission Radio member so I can keep these shows and interviews coming along. I'll catch you guys soon.